Hey guys, so this is part one of our family trip to Kenya in 2024. We were here about 3 years ago, and it was an amazing experience then, so we were like, we just have to come back. Now, so for those of you who don't know, my sister and her husband have a safari camp here in Kenya. It's in the Masai Mara, and it's called Mara West, so that's one of the reasons that we've had this opportunity to come here before and come here again. But anyway, to start off this trip, we wanted to tell you about this expedition that we started with. And basically, after we arrived in Nairobi, we met up with my sister and we went to Kajabi, where they basically have their staging home, where they do business in and around Nairobi before they go all the way down to camp, which is like 6 hours away. So we spent the night there. We met up with Lindsay and her 2 kids, my sister and her 2 kids. Yeah. And my wife and I and our 3 kids. So all in all, we had, I think it was 7 kids and 4 adults.
4 adults.
And from there, we headed out on our first adventure. You want to tell them a little bit more about that?
Yeah, we drove from Kajabi, which is where, as Jake said, they have their permanent home there. And we went up through some pretty rough terrain and bumpy roads, about 4 hours, to a national park called the Aberdares. Over there, we stayed at a cabin called the Rhino Retreat, and it was a beautiful cabin, very cozy, and the terrain a lot different, and also the vegetation much more like a rainforest as opposed to like the Mara, which is where they have their home at the camp.
So I was just going to mention, while it's near the equator still, it's at like, much higher elevation. So when we entered the park, we were at like, 10,500 feet?
Yeah, quite high.
And even this Rhino Retreat that we were at was still at like over 8,000 feet.
Yeah, for sure. Quite high up there. One of the really neat things they do there is they put pink salt right in front of the cabin. So it really attracts a lot of animals. Right off the bat when we got there, there was this big beautiful elephant that was there just like licking some of the pink salt. And then we had some Cape buffalo come up right behind it. And we had some bush bucks and bush pigs as well. Mm-hmm. But just lots of animals just coming right up, getting real close, and definitely a bit intimidating.
Yeah, I had my camera set up on a gimbal, and I was like, I'm gonna get some cool shots of these elephants, and I was sitting there filming it. And after one had been eating some salt for a bit, he walked like straight up toward the deck, and I was like, whoa, let's all get in the house here. And we're all backing up. We're like, ooh, time to split. And then he kind of just stopped and just looked at us. I was like, wow, this is really awesome. I got some neat shots, but it was a little bit intimidating. And then he kind of turned down toward the side and walked parallel to the deck, and then kind of started to come around the end of it. And I was like, oh shoot, what is this guy up to? Well, they had a rain barrel set up there, and we didn't know about it at the time. And so after they consume all that salt, they're wanting to rehydrate. So he'll drop his trunk down in there, and you can just hear him gulping up gallons of water. And then he wrapped around to the other end of the deck and just kind of stood there and looked at us for a while. Yeah. Seemed like he was interested in just kind of checking us out, and then wandered off again. But it's definitely a pretty mesmerizing experience. That just kind of like, wow, it's one thing to see one at a zoo that's behind a fence, but when one's free and just walking real close to you like that, it's a little bit intimidating.
Intimidating, but very majestic, just to see them come up out of the wild, come get their salt, get their, gulp of water, and then off they go.
And so while we were at this Rhino Retreat, I spent a lot of time doing some birding around there. There's so many beautiful species of birds. There are multiple different types of weavers. They're real colorful. There were these sunbirds that are really pretty there that kind of feed among some of the little shrubs and flowers and eat bugs. It was really fun to capture images of them. I also did a little filming around the lodge while we were there, and one afternoon, so midday you can kind of wander around the lodge a bit, but when it comes to early morning and the evening, a lot of the animals come in because they set the salt out there for them. And so you kind of have to be cognizant of that and a little more careful about wandering off too far. So one afternoon before the animals had started coming in, I was like, let me get some shots of this neat little cottage so we can show you guys this cottage. And I was getting some shots, and I was like, let me go over to this other corner of the the cottage, and out of the corner of my eye, I see a Cape buffalo coming. I was like, oh snap! I called back to the deck there, and they have like a layer of rocks sort of around part of the building because it kind of keeps the bigger animals from wanting to walk up too close to the building. And they're like, as long as you're on the deck, you're safe. And so back to the deck I went. But anyway, it was really cool to see all these animals. While we were there, we also went out for a fishing trip.
Yeah, we went probably, I'd say maybe 10-15 minutes away from the cabin to go fishing down this river. I guess most people like to do that, but we can't go alone, so we had to take 2 park rangers with us to basically, keep us safe from the wild animals. So it's kind of one of those things like you're just not allowed to wander off alone, rightfully so. So we tried to do a little fishing. I wouldn't say we could do a whole lot because of the rain and the water level was quite high, but it was still a fun activity for the children to do.
Yeah, I don't think we caught one fish.
I don't think we did at all.
But we definitely got some of the hooks stuck.
Yes.
And the kids had some fun. But anyway, while we were out there, we got to see this really neat eagle. I still have to look up which eagle that was. We got to see some elephants out there. And part of the reason they make you bring rangers with you is there is a lot of elephants, and at that higher elevation, and that there's a lot of bush, so you can't really see really far, so you can kind of pop around the corner and there be a massive elephant.
Yeah, they'll come out of nowhere.
And they actually, I think, have imported some elephants from other parts of Kenya that were kind of becoming problematic. They're too close to people, and turned some of those loose, and the ranger said some of those are a little bit hot-headed and
aggressive.
A little bit aggressive, so they were being very cautious, and we were very glad to have them with us. But the Aberdares were really awesome. We had a lot of fun. After we finished our trip there, we kind of worked our way out of there. It had been raining a bit, and we had a little bit of fun, sliding around a little bit in the Land Cruisers and going through some mud puddles. But we made our way back up to 10,500 feet, went out of the park, and then worked our way back to Greystone. But I think that probably wraps our first vlog.
Yeah, I'd say that was our first adventure.
But a few more things we want to tell you about coming up. There's going to be an ultra marathon that Sandra's running a relay in.
Yeah, one of the legs.
Coming up, was it this Saturday?
Yep, coming up Saturday.
And I'll probably be helping film and shoot some photography for that event. We also are planning multiple safaris into the Masai Mara Triangle. And then some of the other adventures are TBD.
For sure.
But definitely be looking for more images and videos, and I think this will be a really awesome trip. And if there's something that you want to know about Kenya or coming here on safari, hit us up in the comments, and we'll be happy to help you find those answers and tell you more about what it's like here. Anyway, take care.